See, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Outlawed Thoughts. This is episode 43. I'm back here with Samuel Tweed, same guest as last night. Gonna cover a bunch of random stuff tonight. I got show notes here. We've got JFK stuff. We've got Twitter files. Bunch of interesting stuff with some Indiana laws that came out regarding cops. Yeah, some cool stuff. We did not get a chance to mic test before this, and I can hear stuff, so I'm gonna see whether we need to switch around microphones on your end. Do you want to say something for me?
Is it me? Is it me? Is it me?
Oh no, that's pretty good. We can hear you fine. There's static on the back end, but that's no big deal. I don't mind that stuff.
Is it worse right now? Is it getting better or worse?
That one's
better. Is it getting worse?
Go to the other one. Sorry.
Hold on. More fun, actually. Is the no one. That one. Is this somewhat acceptable?
Okay. This is the one you want. Yeah, we're good. All right. Sorry for anybody who joins in. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, sorry for anybody who joins in. Normally I do that before the stream, but it's everything was kind of last minute as per usual with my show.
We're still like a minute early too. Now I can't hear you at all.
Technically.
Now I can't hear at all, but it's just blinking.
Okay. Yeah, if you have to switch over, it's fine. Just hey, look, Kareem's here.
Hey,
we're trying to figure out audio. Okay, say something, Samuel. No. Nothing.
You should fix it. You were in the Mossad. You have special training.
I wasn't a comms director. That's all right. We have a bunch of random
Can
stuff.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we got you.
Woo! You're good.
Is that decent?
Yeah, that's perfect. You're good.
Okay. I don't know if I should leave these lights on.
Oh, it's fine either way, man.
Well, I'm kind of afraid if I unplug them, will it stop working?
It probably will, so let's just not mess with it.
Yeah. Just take some Molly, chill.
Everybody who comes in chat can just make fun of you, and it'll be fun.
I can't wait.
All right, so first thing I guess we'll cover tonight with kind of there's the whole Twitter file stuff that everybody's going on about. So, Rusty Shacklesford. That's a cool name. So there's all these different everybody's talking about the Twitter files. I feel like that's the most popular story, of course. Little disappointing to me, but we're gonna get into it and we'll go through the long one because there was one today, or well, yesterday, I guess technically, that was pretty interesting, I thought. And then I collected some news stories that kind of gather some of the info from it, put it together. And then I've got some stuff on JFK, and the files that were released, and kind of a funny video from one of my favorite comedians talking about Kennedy that I thought always apply in these times that we could probably listen to. What have you been up to, Kareem? Did you listen to any of the show we did last night?
A little bit, I did. What have I been up to? Looking at running for school board and city council in my area.
That's cool.
And just been working out and fun stuff like that. And working on ANCAP and community. So, did you read your Bakunin lately? He's a nice guy. He's friendly.
He is. We'll go over some stuff here, but one funny thing that happened this week was Michael Knowles was on Tim Pool, and the episode was not my favorite. Michael Knowles said a bunch of stuff that was bullshit, and him and Luke got into it. But it was funny because I literally, while watching it live, was like, "Oh, I gotta react to this on the show and like break this down." And then I woke up the next day and Dave Smith had already done it, and I was like, "God damn it!" now I'm not gonna do it because it's like.
I feel like Tim's becoming Republican light. He's just like the liberals pushed him so or whatever. But I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying
Tim goes where the money is, man. That's just what it is.
Yeah, he's floating out there. He's just floating. I mean, he's got a good thing going for him now, so he can only like kind of steer the rudder a little bit. I feel.
Yeah, it's
more billboards though. I want more of his billboards
game,
going up.
Right? Like that's what he's whether he's alt media or not. I mean, that's what he is. He's in the news business.
I get it, but you can be in the news business and have an opinion. Tim Pool is a shill.
Nah.
I'm not saying he's a shill or a sellout. I'm just saying, to me, yeah, it does seem like he's going like, oh, but it's cool to be a patriot now. But if, let's just say, theoretically, the LPMC did become a dominant force in America, I feel like he would kind of like, oh yeah, Ron Paul is cool. Hey man, that's my impression. And that's not, I'm not saying anything specifically bad. Here's what I get. If you go on his show and you're a libertarian, he tends to go more in the libertarian direction. If you go on Republican, he's like, yeah, Trump. If you go on as a liberal, he's like, yeah, I was a disaffected liberal. I think he's trying to be more like, he wants to bring on a guest, even like Kanye, and say, hey, I get it, you were treated badly, but you can't. So, like, you know what Kanye's going to do. I know what Kanye's going to do. So he wants to kind of mold in with, I guess, everybody, as opposed to saying, this is what I stand for. That's my interpretation. It's not that he's necessarily good.
Yeah. Do you think he's doing that because he doesn't have a viewpoint and he's trying to just kind of SpongeBob SquarePants? Or do you think it's because he wants to allow people to get their viewpoint out there without steering it?
I don't know. Ask Brian Nichols that, because Brian Nichols was at the Florida YAL event.
I think I met Brian at that event.
Yeah, Brian's a real cool guy. I was at the YAL event. I'll definitely go back next year. But I asked Brian, I said, I kind of have that feel. I like him, but it seems like Luke, I can tell, is a libertarian. Luke stands up for stuff. Like, Luke will get into it. And I'll get into it with people, because to me, if you're going to do politics, you want to, I don't care exactly where you stand, but you want to stand somewhere. Even if you're going to be like Bill Kristol, fine. You're just going to get your ass handed to you by Scott Horton. I get it. But where does Tim stand? I don't know what he exactly, and that's the problem. Most people, I can tell you what they believe before I click on a thumbnail. If it's about Israel and Ben Shapiro's talking, I'm like, let me guess. Or if it's about like a cop doing something violent indiscriminately and it's Brandon Tatum, I'm like, let me guess. But Tim, I don't exactly know where Tim stands. Dave Rubin, I know where he stands, and Dave Rubin's kind of chill, but like, I don't know where Tim stands really on much.
Well, that would be because Tim, for the most part, tends to take the fence entirely 9 inches into his ass. So there's a degree of like flexibility there that he has politically that I think a lot don't. No, there's not much difference between that and like Milo, right? Like Milo Yiannopoulos is just putty. He can just form to whatever political omni he needs to and become symbiotic with them. Like it's
yeah, no, literally, I do
shit.
see that. From what I heard, Milo was super left back in the day. Then he went super pro Trump. Now he's trying to destroy Trump's career with Yee, whatever the fuck his name is. Wearing the stupid shit on Alex Jones being an idiot. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing. It's just like putty. Like, hey, here's a trend.
Playing 4D chess. I swear to God, y'all are gonna. Everybody's gonna come out of this looking like idiots. The man got out of every contract he had in less than 24 hours, and now he's just writing music and going on tirades, and like he's so rich at the end of this. Like I keep trying to explain to people, when you're as big as he is, you can only be so canceled because he's always gonna have a like. There are still motherfuckers that would have, the guy who was pissing on kids and filming it and shit, R. Kelly. Like, there were guys defending R. Kelly up until the bitter fucking end. And that dude had a tape of him doing it. And they were like, nah, man, it's not him on that. So if you think for a second Kanye could literally shoot someone in the town square, and half the country would, or at least 15% of the country would still be like, yeah, I stand with Ye. Like it's just the way it is politically. His opinions are no longer his opinions. They're his persona's opinions. They've become like the whole thing.
But you know what? It's okay, because you know what? Ye can be on the sideline and Tim can, but America needs a superhero. And
Ye's got a cape.
Not Ye.
It's Alex Stein.
No, it's not Alex Stein. I bought all my 45 Trump NFTs and minted them, and I got them on my wall because I'm a hardcore MAGA Christian, but I forgot the first commandment about putting something about God before false idols.
Yep.
But
we were talking about that shit last night.
yeah, I saw that. And I thought that was funny. I wanted to bring that up too because I didn't get to bring it up. And
I also have this great clip of Dr. Phil. I saw Kyle Eustace or Yestis. I'm gonna pronounce this way wrong, but he tweeted out this clip. Quote tweeted it. It was from Corey DeAngelis, Corey A. DeAngelis on his Twitter. Really fucking great. He was on Dr. Phil talking about teachers unions and shit with the COVID stuff. It's like 2 minutes of just perfectness. He just breaks this shit down in a way that's just, very, very, very good. I had some I'm doing kind of a series on my Twitter, which some people might have seen that watch the show, where I've been doing this kind of like history thing. There's this new kind of like Wikipedia software that's been going around on Twitter. People have been using Perplexity, and it gives a much better synopsis than like Wikipedia and stuff does. So I've been doing up a bunch of these like memes where it's just like a photo of a historical person, and then it'll put like a descriptor under it. It's pretty interesting. I've been messing around with it, but yeah. My week's been really boring other than that, and
but I was gonna ask you, because I did watch it a little bit, but I think we have the consensus. Even though he sold the NFTs and made money, it's not like he really needs the money. But even though he sold it, my thing is that a lot of his base, and how do I know this? I watch Stu Peters, I watch Alex Jones, I watch all the people who were like diehard, all libertarians are wrong, you don't know this, Trump, MAGA, America, all that. Even they're like, well, how's that DeSantis guy doing? What's he been doing? So,
well, I mean, I talked about this early on, and a few rants and things I went into where I said, the DeSantis thing was going to pull the base of the Republican kind of establishment apart, the kind of a McConnell base versus the Trump base. is the way that it used to be explained, but really it'll become kind of the DeSantis and Trump base. And you have somebody like Ye, who, whether people want to admit it or not, is going to pull drastically in polls from specific communities. He's going to get a lot of votes from the Middle Eastern community, and he'll get a lot of votes from the Black community.
No, he won't. No, he won't.
Right. They let you vote in mental institutes and in jail, I think, right? No, I don't think Kanye's going to be pulling any votes. Like that's like the drunk. It's going to be funny to write his name in.
Stop this.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that being the case, because I think there are people who will look at his candidacy before. I'm not talking about him as the front runner, right? I'm not talking about Kanye as the nominee for the Republicans. So I'm not talking about general votes. I'm talking about when they're polling people online, when they're going out and asking people anonymously who they're voting for, and they're getting these results back, which is who is making the decisions in the Republican establishment, who they're backing as candidates. Kanye is a nuclear candidate, so no Republican politician can support Ye running for president. They can't do it. What Ye can do is market so heavily within the media that those polling results will skew for him in specific communities and force Republicans behind closed doors to capitulate to him. And I think that's exactly what Milo is telling him in his ear, because Milo wants to fuck Trump. He wants to fuck over a bunch of Republicans who canceled him, and he's got an outlet to do it. I think people will be very dumb to not pay attention to him as a legitimate thing, because there's also the fact that there's a good chance the Democrats don't pick Kamala as their pick in the Democratic wing. They try to go with somebody new. And some of the people they can pick from are like Pete Buttigieg and people like this. If you've got Trump or DeSantis versus Pete Buttigieg or some generic white guy, there are a lot of minority votes within the U.S. who will just say they're going to vote for Kanye simply because he is the minority vote. And so...
No, they won't. I'll stop. I will save the day.
You
know what? We're going to get big by then. With Liberty Layton. And Layton's going to be coalitioning with our friendly ANCOM friends and syndicalists because he likes them.
Your ANCOM friends can stick it.
Make some ANCOM friends, give him a hug. Bakunin was a nice guy. So is Kropotkin. I'll go to every mosque and yell at them and be like, it is your jihad to go out there and vote.
Okay, Kareem, you going and yelling at mosques is not necessarily out of character, so calm down, all right?
No, but I am. I'm going to go to mosques. I will go to religious institutions and tell them, look, it is the morally right thing to do. Like, get mad. This time I'm mad. Like,
just don't go yell at any synagogues, or else you'll move.
I will.
You should dress as a Black Hebrew Israelite and go in front of a mosque and yell at them and convince them how they should vote. But make sure you don't make the Trudeau mistake of actually going full blackface. Just be like,
Or do. I mean, you can follow through if you want to.
Because they'll admire your commitment to the bit. If you actually
can Kareem do blackface? Can't you be like, can't you use the double minority argument? You're just like, well, sorry, bulletproof here, buddy. Like,
not going to be monetized. But, yeah, I mean, I'm going hardcore for Dave Smith. I will go to religious institutions.
Of course. I'm not, there's no way in hell I'd vote for any of the people I'm talking about.
No,
I'm just rationally talking about what I view as the reality of the playing field here. And if people think Kanye is going to get a couple 100,000 people polling for him, I think they're nuts. I think you're going to have all these.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me throw a little catfish in the argument. How do you know minority communities don't say, oh, Maj Touré, oh, he stands for what I stand for, and he's got that persona that works quite well. I think a lot of minorities.
Is Maj running? Is Maj going to run?
I will say this. I will voice my opinion on this because there isn't a clear VP pick for Dave, and I will say Maj to me makes the most sense there are some issues as far as how you are going to run the actual like presidential run and how you want it to be done. I've heard people throw out a mosh and things like that.
No.
I mean, I'll say, my opinion on Amash is that I don't think he's a good public speaker. I think he's argumentative against certain parties within the libertarian side of things. And I think that the proof is in the pudding. The guy who was in politics, was involved with doing these things behind closed doors and got barely anything done. And so why would I put that person forward as a good candidate for president when they haven't shown they can do this anyway? Versus putting somebody who's more radical, who's saying, hey, I'm willing to do what this guy wasn't willing to do. That's more of what I'm looking for. But I will say there are people, and this is what I said on Twitter a while back. I said I'd like to see Maj, or I'd like to see somebody who is a Republican who has just switched over to the Libertarians. I know that's a scary thing to think, but what I mean is somebody with deep name recognition that actually pulls from the Republican base, because we know the Republican base is going to be so fractured going into 2024 with all the different candidate choices and weird shit happening, that if you have somebody with a real familiar face from the Republican side saying, hey, I'm throwing my hands up, I'm done, I'm becoming a libertarian, now I'm going to run as the VP over here with somebody that knows what they're doing, I think you end up with a really good situation. Yeah, no, I think you have to have Dave in there. Dave is the best libertarian public speaker right now.
Spike can come back in 4 years or so. I like Spike. I like Spike.
Actually, a little bit better in my opinion. Spike knows how. Spike's really good. I don't know.
So I've met Spike. I've met Spike. I've seen him speak. I think there's something that Dave has from a person-to-person perspective that Spike is still lacking. And I think that comes from the public speaking side of it on a larger scale versus meet and greet stuff.
I'll say this. Dave's funnier. Dave can kind of do the more like comedian thing. But Spike seems to care about cultural issues a little bit more. Like where Dave, I agree 100% with Dave on Yemen and on Putin and Russia and all this stuff going on. But I think from what I've seen, a lot of people do look at cultural issues. Like, yes, the economy is important, but a lot of people do touch on cultural things, and Spike seems to be more into the cultural side of, here's what's going on culturally. So it's kind of hard for me. Shane Hazel's also another.
For the record, I'm never worried about the LOS stuff being a problem for Dave, specifically because the same thing with the Kanye stuff. I think that it's all about perception within the media, and the stuff that Dave has, once it's all clipped and put out there to a certain extent, once you just go, it's a comedy show, it's a joke, and shrug it off, there's not really much people can actually do to you. And you just continue to pretend like it didn't happen and talk about the issues that actually matter. Well, and that stuff just kind of ceases to, no one gives a shit.
Grab him by the pussy didn't work against Trump, did it? Remember when they were like, this is going to wreck him, he's not going to win?
Well, how many
Legion of Skanks is that, except funnier. It's actually much more
you have involved. The context of saying this is a comedy event, a comedy show. Trump, Democrats that said shit on hot mics, none of these people had that as an excuse, right? So, and he can say that as a response to them bringing that up. Well, what about this thing this person said, and this person said, this doesn't have the context of comedy. I didn't see you guys destroying this person. Right.
Not running for Saturday Night Live. They're not going to, Shane Gillis him. It's not like he can just get fired. It's like, well, bring up all these clips, and who's going to dive into all the clips of all the things of Legion of Skanks? Now, we know the internet and the people who wouldn't want him will bring up all these clips, but the context. But as far as if he's running, and you guys know better than this because I don't keep track of dates and things like that, but what is this Maj? Is this as a rumor as a running mate thing? When did they decide? When did the primaries even start? Like, when did they even?
Nothing has started yet within the decision-making process of who's going to be picked for president or vice president. I know as far as rumor mill stuff goes, there's an implication out there that Dave is going to run, but that's not been confirmed by anybody.
Yeah. And what's even funny is I've talked to people internally, and they said Dave actually doesn't want to run. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, no, he's publicly said that he doesn't want to run. If somebody better was there, he'd have them do it. But he's also said multiple times that so far that person has just not put themselves forward.
But there needs to be someone who.
And it's just throw around season right now. Yeah, that's a perfect example of what this is. I mean, it's like this is kind of the period where everybody's kind of waiting to see what happens. Obviously, once you run for president, there's things like exploratory committees and things like that you have to get together. And
I feel like from Dave's position, he doesn't want, though, for people, because he does have a huge fan base, not just from Part of the Problem or his comedy, but from like being on Rogan and being on like Kennedy, being on shows like that, panels. He doesn't want people to get disinterested in what happened back in June in Reno, right?
Right.
And so he's not going to say, oh, no, I'm going to have no part of that. He's going to be like, pay attention. Something good is coming, so I feel like he'll be the first, like he'll be happy to hand that torch off and endorse someone else. But he doesn't want to kind of interrupt whatever happened there in Reno and what's been building. They're really trying to strategize, and they're not like, I don't know. You guys might be a little more in on this than me. But I feel like it's a lot of strategizing going on as far as that goes.
Well, I always assume that all fields, everybody on all angles in that regard are kind of talking about things behind closed doors and trying to figure shit out. This is kind of the first of the stories here. This is from Al Jazeera because I like using foreign media for things like this. But,
you know why? Because your time as an agent in a certain country, you start reaching out Al Jazeera to figure out how to deter Iran.
More than 13,000 new JFK files released, hundreds more held back. Record release not expected to give major revelations about the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy nearly 60 years ago. Thousands of documents related to the 1963 assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy were released, but many other sensitive records on the killing were kept secret for another year for national security reasons. The release of 13,173 documents on Thursday was not expected to include any new bombshells or change the conclusion reached by the commission led by Chief Justice Earl Warren that Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine and communist activist who had lived in the erstwhile Soviet Union, acted alone.
No, it didn't.
So, and this goes into some of the CIA stuff, but that's kind of what I wanted to read from this is an intro of how many files were released, what was held back. This is the next story, which is regarding Tucker Carlson, Tucker Carlson, here's what a source said about the CIA and JFK's assassination. Tucker Carlson questions whether the CIA had a role in JFK's death. Not long after Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald on camera in the basement of Dallas police headquarters, a lot of Americans started to have some questions about the Kennedy assassination. It was, you'd have to admit, a pretty extraordinary sequence of events. A lone gunman murders the President of the United States, and then less than 48 hours later, that lone gunman is himself murdered by another lone gunman. What are the odds of that? It's one thing if you get struck by lightning, rare but possible. But if every member of your family also gets struck by lightning, all on different days, you might begin to suspect they're not entirely natural events. But replied the U.S. government. Replied the U.S. government, they are. This bizarre chain of killings was all entirely natural. So less than a year after the JFK assassination, the Johnson White House released something called the Warren Commission Report. The report concluded that while their motives remained unclear, both Lee Oswald and Jack Ruby had acted alone. No one helped them. There was no conspiracy of any kind. Case closed. Time to move on. And many Americans did move on. At the time, they had no idea how shoddy and corrupt the Warren Commission was. It would be nearly 50 years before the CIA admitted under duress that in fact it had withheld information from investigators about its relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald. But even then, at the time, before that was known, the government's explanation didn't seem entirely plausible, and some people started asking obvious questions about it. It was at that point, as Americans started to doubt the official story, the term conspiracy theory entered our lexicon, as Professor Lance DeHaven Smith points out in his book on the subject. The term conspiracy theory did not exist as a phrase in everyday American conversation before 1964. In 1964, the year the Warren Commission issued its report, the New York Times published 5 stories in which conspiracy theory appeared. So, unable to do. There was a part of this that was interesting. Well, to say we decided we spoke to someone who had access to these still hidden CIA documents, a person who was deeply familiar with what they contained. We asked this person directly, did the CIA have a hand in the murder of John F. Kennedy, an American president? And here's the reply we received, the verbatim quote. The answer is yes, I believe they were involved. It's a whole different country from what we thought it was. It's all fake. It's hard to imagine a more jarring response than that. Again, this is not a conspiracy theorist that we spoke to, not even close. This is someone with direct knowledge of the information that once again is being withheld from American public. And the answer we received was unequivocal. Yes, the CIA was involved in the assassination of the president. So, this is just a guy that Tucker Carlson spoke to. Now, he was anonymous, and so that you have to take some form of grain of salt. But he's claiming he saw documents that didn't actually get pushed out, and that it shows that the CIA did it. I've had a kind of back and forth debate always about whether it was the mob or the CIA. I've always landed on it was the CIA, or it was the CIA paying the mob to do it. And that's just kind of where I fall.
Well, I mean, did they, to be fair, Leighton, didn't they do the same thing with Joe Vogler? Probably some agencies like, hey, you're a crazy person. Like, I sure have mental issues.
So even deeper than that, like other than Joe Vogler here in Alaska, you have Nick Begich and Hale Boggs, who were on Hale Boggs was on the commission that was deciding whether or not there was a conspiratorial connection between the death of Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy. And they concluded their findings, and then he came to Alaska. He was with the governor of Alaska at the time, Nick Begich, who was very famous in the state for giving some liberties to people that others were taking. They both take off on a plane and disappear. There's never any actual evidence of their plane, which doesn't really happen in Alaska. And then the wife of Begich later went on to marry a guy just a few months later who got arrested previously for building bombs and trying to blow up.
Sounds like a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
But okay, to me, what I see as a pattern is with intelligence agencies, especially the 2 most prominent ones. I'm not saying all of them do it, but the FBI and the CIA seem to be very, very good. The FBI domestically and the CIA internationally of finding people who are upset with the paradigm that they want. Oh, you think Assad is bad. Oh, you think Gaddafi's bad. And then paying, you think Yushchenko in Ukraine. And then they pay them and say, hey, make him go away. I don't think it's crazy that an intelligence agency, like they did with Begich, like they did with Vogler, like they do with dissenting people, because they don't want their fingerprints on it, says, oh, look, it was just a crazy person that we MK Ultra'd and paid him and sent him out, like the Vegas person or like other
back and to the left.
And
this is a great comment from Rusty, but it is the Bush death cult. I mean,
it is.
Bush was there. One of the big reasons that these documents have never been released is because of Bush Sr. Like, it's a power structure thing, just like it was with the other assassination that he was present for, or assassination attempt and different things. So I think you have a cut and dry situation where the feds needed this guy gone, and so they made sure he was gone. And I now notice in the chat, somebody said Kennedy had employed the mob with Cuba crisis. Of course, they are tied in. Yeah, I mean, of course, somewhere in there, the mob is going to be involved, but the government is the one pulling the trigger.
I don't
the
think the mob really had to. I honestly think it was this. I also see a pattern in U.S. policy in domestic and foreign. If you want to get off the U.S. dollar for any reason, well, you suddenly become a threat, and you suddenly become, oh, you're hurting your own people. And it was quite clear that JFK did not like the Federal Reserve. My understanding is, although I can't prove it, and you probably think I sound like Stu Peters, he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve and fight against it, and then have banks nationalized, which to me, I'd rather have them localized or just have crypto everywhere. But he wanted to have them nationalized, and they got mad. And they paid and MK'd Oswald into doing it, and then said, oh, it was just a crazy lone gunman. Don't look anywhere else. And since there was no internet widespread at the time, people are just like, well, that's what they told me on TV. I can't really disprove it. And unless you're someone like G. Edward Griffin, you're not really going to be able to piece together what happened.
Well, if that was the case, then how come Muammar Gaddafi is still like reigning things in, Libya? How come they haven't done anything to like stop him from what he's doing, trying to get off of the petrodollar and stuff? How come he's still to this day in charge? I'm just wondering.
They killed Gaddafi.
Oh shit! Well, then if that's the case, then probably what you just said is correct.
Yeah, I know you're just messing with me, but
it's my way of agreeing with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think what you laid out is accurate. I mean, you have a situation where it's possible somebody wants to get rid of the Fed, but the reality is I don't think that was ever anybody who's been in power yet.
I mean, JFK was the last president to be really, in my opinion, anti-establishment. I know people say Trump was, but Trump weaponized the Fed during the scary beer flu regime and printed tons of money, whereas JFK wanted to get rid of it, and I think that's why they got mad. Similar to, I mean, like, sometimes I make correlations that aren't perfect causation, but, like, to me, it's quite clear that Bill Gates said he wanted to reduce the population, and his methodology, he said what it was, and then they're just presenting the evidence. Here's what these devices are doing. Here's what he said. Here's the device he wanted to use, and this is in correlate. So I think, actually, the suddenly thing is quite accurate.
I know we can disagree on whether that documentary is.
It's good.
Like shit.
It was made good. It was made good, and you should go hug some moms.
I just want to hear what Alex Jones has to say about this. You got this Alex Jones clip pulled up.
Okay, yeah. This is my favorite. This is my favorite stand-up on the JFK issue, and it's a classic. So we can kind of react along to this. Government, let it go.
Yeah. Although democracy sucks, but yeah.
I swear to God,
Bill Hicks died at 31 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
No, he didn't. He's actually on Band.video selling supplements.
He sells supplements. He just got sued for a fuck ton of money, man. It was brutal in court.
I don't think it's going to stand, man.
Bill Hicks is Alex.
No, I do think a lot of the Alex Jones shit's going to get thrown out on appeal.
It better.
A lot of
Go back to the Hicks stuff. Back to the Hicks. We'll circle back around.
Let me grab. I got this other story here because this is what it kind of leads into the rest of the stuff. But I thought that was. We don't need to play the whole thing. I just wanted to kind of.
We should play that.
Now, can we do a music review on your channel?
Oh God. Oh, I think I know what you're gonna send me.
Raleigh.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
That was good.
It's not really my style of music, and it doesn't really fit in. But I'm gonna try to figure out a way to like maybe use it for an intro or something.
Yeah, do that.
It's just We tried to make the chair.
Did you like it though?
Yeah, it was good. No, it's good. It's just that's not my like. I can listen to that music on my own. It's just not like my go-to. Like
More of like backwards type stuff.
nah, I listen to kind of a mix of everything, but just not like real hard stuff.
Is that not allowed?
I only listen to DMX because they killed him too.
Yeah. The government killed Tupac. How come they can't find who shot Tupac?
Well, because P. Diddy did it.
No, he didn't.
Eminem called him out on that.
The CIA did it.
P. Diddy killed P. Diddy. P. Diddy is the top G. Okay, P. Diddy killed both Biggie and Tupac. Not only got away with it, but now makes millions upon millions of dollars off of their music because he owns the fucking rights to so much of their shit. Because he kind of like managed Biggie, and then he was just buying the rights to a bunch of Tupac shit. So
he also killed Prince.
Oh God!
Not for a financial reason, just because he didn't like his music.
that was personal.
Wait, P. Diddy's part of the CIA then?
No.
Yes, he is.
It was a Fed. He might be a Fed, but it was more of a financial thing. Like, both Tupac and Biggie, because of the way they were situated, it's kind of like the Michael Jackson thing, right? Like, there's a good chance that either Michael Jackson's management offed him, or they just let him off himself and upped his dosage and just told the doctor to keep doing it. The reason behind that is because he owned a ton of rights to a ton of different things, but they were all in his estate, and no one else could really make any money from it until he was dead. Well, he stopped his major tours and producing as much music. So the value of what he had in his estate outweighed the value of money he was producing every year as an artist. And so when you're in that situation, it's literally more valuable for them to have you dead than alive. And that's exactly what happened.
Didn't he buy all of Elvis stuff? Was it Elvis that he bought all
the Beatles?
It was the Beatles.
He had a feud with
the
Paul
opposite,
McCartney.
but the same.
Yeah, and I think he does own a bunch of Elvis stuff. He owned a bunch of just a ton of old artists, and then he also like managed a ton of new artists through a bunch of his other companies.
If your doctor puts you to sleep every night with medication, and then oopsie daisy, I'm a doctor of medical science who's in charge of keeping you alive, and I accidentally killed you, it's really hard to fucking think that that was an accident.
I don't disagree with
my take on it. And he was like a JW. Circle back to last night. Wasn't he a Jehovah's Witness?
So yes, but there's the biggest problem that I have with it in particular is the doctor went through court and everything after the fact, and the doctor was basically like, in Hollywood and those kind of circles, they all have like this doctor who can prescribe medication, and they have like a degree in a specific thing, but then they'll just cater to like everybody because they're basically like a script doctor. They're somebody that's going to show up and have an expert with them to kind of figure out the details, but they're going to make sure that you get whatever meds you want. And so my whole thing is like the management team, from what MJ's family has said, was the ones that were handling like the whole doctor part of it and like what he was being prescribed, going and picking up his scripts, things like that. So, and there was at one point, this is what they showed in like the whole court thing, where the dosages of what he was taking was raised drastically. And the doctor was like, oh, well, he asked for that. And it's like, okay, yeah, but like you're also his doctor. And so you should know that medically, if you're giving him more of this drug, it's going to likely end in a specific way, which every other doctor who testified in the whole thing and publicly came out and said stuff was like, yeah, the amount he was being given is like, this is absurd. Like,
which is why in the like one kind of like debate that is somewhat in the libertarian community, they have like sides and they've like just tried to, oh, are you open borders or closed borders or this or that? Like, this is the gotcha. And people try to be, it's the gotcha. But that's why I'm for open pharmacies. Because if I know what the doctor is going to give me, I should be able to go to the pharmacy and just get that.
So I agree, but I do also think that, like, and this is just my take, like, doctors, having a group of doctors who get together and say, we are going to, like, sign this thing that gives us almost an insurance policy on what we're putting out there, I think is something that would become very easily, like, entered into the market. And I, like, personally, if I was shopping around for things like meds, if I'm not smart enough, or I don't want to just trust whatever Google says or whatever forum I find says on that drug, it would be a lot better, I think, for people long term to have the option to just be like, hey, what is this drug? Can I take it? What is it going to do to me?
Yeah, like I just had a great weekend and met a nice lady, but a lady I don't trust with her biological makeup. So I need to do a short regimen of antibiotics, and I'm going to go buy those. And then that way I'll be able to pee like a normal person. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Here's what I'm saying. I'll go a little bit. I know.
that was a little hyperbolic. Kareem.
Gotta get those.
It's reality. It's out there now.
I want it to sting when you pee. But all right. As far as I'm concerned, after scary beer flu regime and the scary beer flu age, I don't trust anybody in a white lab coat at all. I probably will cancel my health insurance unless I get hit by a bus, literally, or like someone beats the crap out of me to the point where I cannot move. And then even then, I might just go home and just be like, all right, I lived a good life. I will not go to the hospital. I won't. You can't trust doctors anymore. They're working in the Rockefeller cabal. A lot of them just want a paycheck. You don't know what they'll do. And a lot of them are still especially bioweapon happy. I honestly think it's a good idea to talk to naturopath doctors, even if some of their stuff sounds crazy and do like the whole, essential oil stuff, teas, this, supplements, ashwagandha, everything like that. Honestly, I think health has gone in the wrong direction, and you'd be better off talking to the natural doctors who want to fix things at the root cause, whatever that root cause is, than trusting doctors who are just there for profit. I don't think the medical industry is good at all. I don't think big pharma serves any usage. And I think most things, probably 99% of things, can be healed naturally or with like specific medicine. Like little clinics are still okay, but I don't trust hospitals anymore. I'm even like a fan of like, hit up someone. I know Leighton doesn't agree. Hit up someone like doing Reiki. Be like, which chakras are blocked, and get like EMF blocking stuff. Filter your water. Eat stuff without glyphosate.
Drink alcohol. It kills bacteria.
Drink alcohol, and don't eat seed oils. And salad is BS. Just look up Carnivore MD on your phone. You'll get help.
So, Kareem, I agree with you for the most part, but like, for example, like you said, get to the root cause. And like the root cause for me, more specifically, wasn't just like the joke I made about antibiotics and crazy weekend and some girl that it's like, I got a tooth and I can't get the tooth out because I can't afford to go to Mexico right now and get this pulled out. I have that problem
right now.
And it's like half a tooth right here. And I'm like, I need antibiotics because it's swollen up to here and I'm going to die. And I'm like, I have to go to the emergency room. Well, you're depending on government paid for medical care. It's like, no, because I know I need antibiotics and I'd be able to go buy those antibiotics and I'd be able to go to a dentist that doesn't have to, hey, pull this tooth out real quick.
I mean, it depends. Like, to answer your question, I'm not a tree hugger. Here's the thing: what I'd do, I would go on them internets and type in holistic doctors in whatever area you're at, or holistic dentists. And there are dentists who do natural stuff. Like, to me,
like grab a pair of pliers and pull this fucking thing out of my head. That's pretty fucking natural.
I mean, maybe, or they do something else. But like, I'm
okay with getting the Novocaine there, bud.
I mean, yeah, Novocaine can be fine. I'm still okay with getting a little bit numb and then
Actually, when I go to the dentist to get like major shit done in the past, I've always told them to knock my ass out because I would rather be completely out than have to like deal with being numb and watching you poke at my mouth.
I don't like completely out. I just like a little bit of but I want to be awake. I want to be awake.
Nope, I'm not. Don't put me out. Don't put me out because I do. Actually, Rusty Shackelford just threw in the comments that Sam, I think you need a dentist, bro. Yeah, I do. I do need a dentist. That is actual factual statement. That couldn't be further from the falseness.
Giant shortage in Alaska of like dentists and doctors, so it's really
certificate of need shit. Like, holy shit! Like dental work in Mexico is very cheap because there's not a. And it's like, well, anyone could just pretend to be a dentist. Yeah, but that would last for like one treatment. One person would die. This is because are you both ANCAPs?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually further. I want a coalition with other anarchists, and I probably drive late.
Okay, so and I would identify. I don't like groups, but I would identify myself closer to that mindset. And when people are like, "Well, how would dentistry work?" Here's how it would work: the same way it works just south of the border from Yuma, Arizona. There's a dental village there, and here's how it works: the people who don't do good work go out of business. Yeah, we lost a couple people there. We lost a few people. But that guy doesn't get business anymore because everyone's like, don't go there because people died.
You know how you prevent that even from happening?
Dental school? I don't know.
Well, I mean that.
Brushing your teeth?
Brushing your teeth.
That helps a little bit. I think oil pulling helps, and get a remineralization kit for like $20. That's also a good idea.
I really, really quickly want to point out, though, do either of you know who Rusty Shackelford is?
He was on Twitter earlier.
Yeah. Rusty Shackelford is Dale Fontaine, or Daleford, what's his name? Dale Gribble from King of the Hill. His when he has to talk to the government, he says, "My name's Rusty Shackelford." So it's the conspiracy. There's a dental village in your own town, dude. Go to the health department. This is a Fed. Ban this man. Ban this man. Kick him out of your group.
But use their internets as well when you're looking at dentists, and you go, oh, Google reviews. And yes, I get some people can live, but if someone has an overwhelming amount of good reviews, chances are, and they have experiences, chances are they're doing good work. Everyone I've found generally has had good reviews. I've had a good review as well. Imagine that. So
these are the other two stories I had queued up. Was the FBI paid Twitter $3.4 million for doing its dirty work on users damning email shows. So this is one of the things that came out of the Twitter files. And this is an email here. Jim, FYI. One second. Jim, FYI, in 2019, Scale instituted a reimbursement program for our legal process response from the FBI. Prior to the start of the program, Twitter chose not to collect under the statutory rights of reimbursement for the time spent processing requests from the FBI. I'm happy to report we have collected this 3.415,000, so just 3.4 million. Since October 2019, this money is used by LP for things like TTR and other LE related projects, LE training, tooling, etc. Names and stuff are redacted. But this is basically the government directly paying Twitter for cleaning up shitty users as they see it.
You know, I kind of agree with that, though, because I think that the government, if there weren't someone like the government to come in and tell us what to think, then we just have to rely on people who could think for themselves and read. and read books. And at this point in time, like, and I'm not being sarcastic, but at this point in time, like, literacy is going down substantially, and we're going to get to a point where people don't know how to read in our country. So we're really going to have to rely heavily on the government in order to teach us what we should think.
Right. Well, I think the whole reading thing is fucked because that's a real thing, but eventually we'll just be an idiocracy and then we can deal with things that
Dude, we're already there. I was at Costco today. It was really close.
Yeah.
It was really close to welcome to Costco, I love you.
Welcome to Costco, I love you.
It was like...
So I saw this one too. FBI pressured Twitter, sent trove of docs hours before Post broke Hunter laptop story.
I'm excited for Sam to get a lawyer after his dentist, and he's like, dude, you gotta believe me. That's not what the other lawyer said.
I'm lawyered up.
Yeah.
I'm lawyered up. I'm non-goyed up.
I like money.
I like money. Look at him, he's guilty.
I like money.
The FBI pressured Twitter to suppress the Post's blockbuster scoop about Hunter Biden's laptop by warning it could be part of a Russian hack and leak operation, even while knowing the concern was unfounded, according to internal company records made public Monday. The latest release of the Twitter files, authorized by new owner Elon Musk, also provided more examples of former top FBI lawyer Jim Baker's role in cracking down on the Post's reporting while he worked as Twitter's deputy general counsel, a job from which Elon Musk fired him earlier this month. Documents posted on Twitter by independent journalist Michael Schellenberger showed that Twitter's former head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, was contacted by FBI agent Elvis Chan just hours before the Post published the first laptop story on October 14th, 2020. So this is what he's referring to here.
This is the best proof that I've ever seen that we're in a simulation, because we have an article including Jim Baker,
right,
Elvis, and just but no Playboy playmates.
I know. This is Schellenberger says, shortly before 7 p.m. ET on October 13th, Hunter Biden's lawyer George Misers
You think he spends a lot of money?
Mac Isaac. Hunter and Misers had just learned from the New York Post that its story about the laptop would be published the next day. At 9:22 p.m. Eastern Standard, FBI Special Agent Elvis Chan sends 10 documents to Twitter then head of site integrity Yoel Roth through Teleporter, a one-way communication channel from the FBI to Twitter. FBI agent Elvis Chan sends 10 documents, Twitter head of integrity, The next day, October 14, 2020, the New York Post runs its explosive story revealing the business dealings of President Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Every single fact in it was accurate. But, of course, it wouldn't matter because they basically paid them off and told them to bury the story. And Yoel Roth went along with it, of course, because this guy... Basically, it seems like every corporate stooge that was involved in the Twitter backlot was all fucking crooked as shit. Like, none of them were good at all.
Well, they're all feds. They're like actors for them or things. So, but I need to go water my plants. What do you suggest I water it with?
Gatorade.
Brondo. Why? You know why? It has electrolytes.
It's got electrolytes.
I've never seen no plants growing in the toilet.
I want to really quick throw this thought out to you guys, though, because we had something happen here on this cast that I don't know if either one of you picked up on or not, but we had kind of a multi-generational what the hell's going on here. Whereas that we had the JFK, we covered that, files that are 27 years, but it was I think it was 27 years before I was born. They killed the president. I just found out about that tonight, so I'm not sure who this F might stand for, Frankfurter or Fitzgerald or something like that. But we found out that there was a certain amount of information that was coming out, and they were sure that, well, if we don't allow, how many cell phone cameras are going to be there? And then we have this right here where it's like, hey, here is what is going on, and people are noticing that something doesn't fish out. And there is a difference between what the intelligence community is doing today in order to cover up their shady dealings and what they did in 1963 to cover up the shady dealings. And it seems to us that it's shifty. I think you guys would agree. It seems pretty clear that, yeah, the official story of the Kennedy assassination doesn't make sense. Would you both agree with that?
Yeah, no. It to me, it's like either the feds directly did it or they instituted a way for it to happen. Like you don't get what happened to Kennedy without the government knowing about it to some degree.
No one believes in the lone shooter theory.
No,
that's not even a thing.
That's for
sure.
But
back then, it was plausible.
Well, right? Not necessarily. There were in the mid to late 60s, there were already people, for instance, who had done things like triangulated the shots, had seen like the Umbrella Man and the Madame Blavatsky, the girl who's dressed with the skirt and stuff in the video.
But still, communication was cut off to a point where it wasn't what we have today.
Yeah, it was all done through books back then.
So, like, for example, like my grandma told me about it while I asked her, and it's one of those Hallmark, not fuck Hallmark, but Hallmark moments where it's like everyone in that generation knew where they were when they heard. And it was a fact that, like, the highway shut down because people pulled their car to the side of the road because they heard that the president got shot. Mm-hmm. And they were crying. Like, just the highway stopped. That was a thing. Like, people heard the president died. But they didn't also have cell phone footage, and then also like, oh, here's the president getting shot, and also here's some chicks twerking.
Right. Yeah. No,
I'm going to go back to that president thing in a minute.
No, most of it was done through the radio.
Like, it wasn't like that.
The radio and news
but
experts.
The way that when there's something that happens nowadays that is important, they know that they don't have to interrupt the information stream on that. They just have to overwhelm you with,
more shit.
Did this senator from Michigan have some kind of sex scandal? And, like...
Ye said something crazy, but, hey, we're destroying your food supply.
Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, that was really important for our daily lives. Where's Maxwell?
Yeah.
Maxwell murders.
Exactly.
I was talking about a Rancid song with a great bass lick. I wasn't talking about anyone who was on Lolita Express or anything like that.
All right. Well, I think we will close it all out here. Let's. I'll read this last chat here. I was getting ready for work, listening to the radio when 9/11 happened. I thought we were at war and had been bombed. It was terrifying. Yeah, my grandmother worked. I believe she was at the time working for the government doing post office, like mail service work on the base here in Alaska. But I believe she said she thought that they were replaying the explosion from the 90s, which she had remembered seeing on the news. So she thought it was a replay of that at first until she saw the second plane, and then that was when she started going, oh shit.
My grandma was in New York City, and she was flying out of JFK that day. And she said, time to get paid, blow up like the World Trade.
All right. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you later. Follow everybody on Twitter. Samuel's got his ad on screen. I've got mine on screen. Kareem Careening for Liberty. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're slowly growing on here. The views on the channel have been going up this last month. We've got some good guests coming up here. I will lightly confirm somebody, which if you make it the end of the stream, you'll get to know this. But I'm going to be having on Photo Chad. This is De Bruin. He was one of the guys who was in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. He was the photographer who was there. So I'm going to have him on the show, find out kind of what life after the trial has been like, what his photography stuff has been doing. I know he's been doing a lot of that stuff, and I got to listen to his story on Ricada. It was really interesting. Other people in the law tube kind of space and surrounding space, definitely soon. I've got a couple people in that area coming on soon, so we're going to have some more kind of special guests on the show coming up, and going to be doing some more like shorter videos and things like that once I get my editing under control here for the people that I need to edit for. And yeah, excited for the new year and stuff, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.